You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis, Wright.
Car crashes, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts with The Attorneys of Hollis Wright.
Hello and welcome to The Attorneys. I'm Art Franklin. On this show, we're going to be talking about the power of municipal pardons. We're going to break that down for you. But as we get started, we want to let you know that attorneys at Hollis Wright are standing by right now. They'll do it throughout the show to take your call. All you have to do is call 1-844-LAW-TALK. That's 1-844-LAW-TALK for a free confidential call with one of the attorneys at Hollis Wright. Speaking about attorneys at Hollis Wright, Michael Eldridge is here. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, Art.
Yeah, been a while.
It has been a while.
Yeah, good to see you, though.
Every time.
We got a great guest talking about this topic.
We do, and I think when I think about pardons, I always think about the presidential pardon.
Yes.
I didn't even realize that from a state and certainly municipal level. You know, I think every time that we talk about a pardon, it's that the president pardons someone,
right.
And what goes into that, I think we're going to learn today, is a lot more than it's just simply you just say someone's name and everything's wiped away. That there's a lot of caveats and there's a lot of different ways to get pardons. And as someone that doesn't do criminal law, we've got a great guest, Phil Fikes with the Hazzard Law Firm, is going to walk us through all of that. Phil, good to have you on. This is your first time on the show?
That's right.
I know Waukesha, who you work with, has been on the show, and we actually did that episode.
Yes,
Art and I did, and we could have gone on for days and days and days.
Yeah.
We learned a lot, so you have a lot to live up to, because I'm sure Ms. Hazzard will watch this episode. So welcome on. Before we get into all of this, kind of walk us through your practice, what you do day to day, what you specialize in.
For sure. Well, I appreciate y'all having me. Like you said, I work at the Hazzard Law Firm alongside attorney Waukesha Hazzard. Our firm primarily consists of a criminal defense practice, domestic relations, so that could be divorce, custody, child support issues, or modifications of the same. And we also do a little bit of personal injury as well. So any of those three would be happy to help you.
Awesome. All right, let's get into pardons and parole. I think generally, I have a very surface level understanding in terms of a pardon. Like I said, I thought it was just the president writes someone's name down and everything is forgiven and they go on with their life. Explain for us, what is a pardon exactly?
Definitely. So I think the way that you're talking about it is most common. That's probably everybody's perception. I know presidential pardons are the most talked about, but the easiest way to explain a pardon, I think, is to think of it as forgiveness. It's forgiveness in the eyes of the law. So the government, whether it be a local government like we'll talk about, or the federal government, they are seeing a conviction of a crime that has happened. They are understanding that conviction. They're not saying that it didn't happen anymore, but they are lifting you from the consequences of that conviction. So they are essentially, when you think about consequences of a criminal conviction, it could be the loss of rights, voting rights, rights to run for office, sit on a jury, things like that. Gun rights are most common, but the government, by issuing a pardon, is lifting those convictions or those consequences of that conviction off of you.
But when you start talking about pardons, not everything will qualify for a pardon. Is that correct?
That's right. Mostly you're dealing with felony convictions, but you could be dealing with misdemeanor convictions as well. But the key word there is a conviction. Mm-hmm. So a trial, you're found guilty, you are convicted of that crime, you can petition for a pardon down the road. So you're exactly right. Not everything would qualify, but just about any conviction would.
And does that include, like, if you made a plea deal and I guess you're pleading to be convicted, that you still would qualify for a pardon in that situation?
I think you would qualify because, of course, the guilty pleas still count as convictions, but you have to look at it as how would the body that could be granting me the pardon, how are they going to feel if it's a guilty plea as opposed to a criminal conviction? Right. Are they more likely to grant that pardon seeing that I pled guilty on my own volition to that crime as opposed to having a trial and getting convicted of the crime?
Yeah, so most of the time, at least in my experience with the law, if a citizen needs something, whether it be in a civil court or a criminal court, you go to the lawyer and then you plead to the court and you say, you know, we're filing this motion to have this done, or we're filing this injunction to advance something, our rights under the law. How do you do that in terms of a pardon? If you've been to court and you've been convicted, who do you go to get a pardon?
Right, so it's going to depend on what you were convicted of and what agency prosecuted you. So you talked about presidential pardons. Those are going to be, of course, convictions of federal crimes that were prosecuted by a U.S. Attorney's Office, the Department of Justice. In Alabama, if you're prosecuted by the state of Alabama, typically you're prosecuted in the county. So wherever your county seat is, the state of Alabama prosecutes you of a felony or a misdemeanor. Then you would petition the Alabama Board of Pardons and Paroles for that pardon. And there's, of course, an application online that the board allows you free access to try and qualify. But the focus of this conversation is petitioning a mayor. So every mayor in the state of Alabama has this authority. And what we're trying to do at the Hazzard Law Firm, and myself being here, we're trying to get the word out that every mayor's got this power. And I don't think that enough people know about that power. I know I mentioned previously when we were in talks about me coming on that I think the City of Birmingham has had 20,000 plus cases 2 years ago come through that courthouse. And
that's in municipal court.
That's right, in municipal court. And there's other cities where it's just as high a number. And I don't think people know that if you've been convicted in any municipality, you can go to your mayor and say, hey, I want to try and get a pardon.
I wonder if the mayor's even.
Well, the mayor's a lawyer, so he shouldn't. But his number is probably going to be ringing off the hook now when you start talking about that. Because you said you hope so, indeed.
Hope so.
Yes, because most people don't realize that. We talk about, as Michael said, the presidential pardons and even pardoning the bird, the turkey bird.
Right.
We hear about that a lot, but municipal pardons is not something that we hear about.
Right.
And so you guys that's one of the things you're doing is trying to get the word out about these municipal pardons. Right. And anybody qualified depending on the type of conviction that you've had.
I would say if you're convicted of any misdemeanor in a municipality, I do think that you're eligible. I don't think that any misdemeanor offense is going to be prohibited just outright. But I would tell you too, if you're thinking about what you were convicted of in a municipal court, domestic violence is a misdemeanor offense. Driving under the influence could be a misdemeanor offense. Any type of crime of violence, it could be interpreted as a crime of violence, even criminal mischief. You have to think about, what are my chances? While this is eligible for a pardon, am I going to get it given the facts of what happened? And that's something that you and maybe even a lawyer could talk about when you're thinking about petitioning. But I just really don't think that a lot of people know that they can do this, and that's our goal.
Yeah, and I think it's and what you're saying is that, you talked about the state, that there's this board set up for if you got convicted by the district attorney for the county, for example, the Board of Pardons and Paroles that's for the state of Alabama. You're saying every mayor from a municipal standpoint has that same power, and I think it's going to take probably some more time to go to the other side. Is what does that process look like? Between each municipality, right, of how you would go about talking to these mayors, because that's the first thing that I talk to is, do they have the infrastructure set up, and how you can get a lawyer like yourself that knows these things that it sounds like a lot of people don't know, that we need to get the word out, and what that looks like. Okay,
so I guess we'll put a pin in it right there. Okay, we'll do that. And we'll also remind you to follow us, Hollis, Wright, on all social media platforms, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Great content, and you get that throughout the week, so you can follow us there anytime. Again, there's a QR code too on your screen. If you scan that QR code, it's quick and it's easy, and you can reach someone at Hollis Wright that way. We're going to take a break. We'll be back as we're talking about municipal pardons, something that a lot of people don't know about, but we're going to break it down for you here on The Attorneys. We'll take a break. We'll be back after this.
Here's some good information from our firm to you. Hollis Wright recently launched the Law Talk podcast. With podcasts becoming so popular, this will be a simple way to provide our loyal viewers with more opportunities to access information about important legal topics and to learn more about our firm and how we can help you if the need ever arises. There are many ways to access the Law Talk podcast. You can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Also, episodes are always available on the Hollis Wright YouTube channel, as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you consume your podcasts. Just search up Hollis Wright in the Law Talk podcast. Don't wait, take advantage and listen today. Thanks for watching The Attorneys, and we know you'll enjoy the Law Talk podcast.
The Attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you.
When we started the show in 2011, my goal was to do what our firm does best. Help people answer questions related to real-world legal issues they have in their lives in a way that's not intimidating to talk with a lawyer. If the issue is important to you, it's equally important to us, and we're ready to talk with you at no cost.
Yeah, oftentimes people are confronting various legal issues in their lives that really run the gamut of a lot of different legal practice areas, such as bankruptcy, criminal law, civil law, such as personal injury, divorces, domestic relations. And to be able to have a show once a week that covers those practice areas and answers people's questions in those areas, that's really the main objective of the show.
We use the resources of the many lawyers at our law firm to create a plan that has a lasting impact for each person that calls or texts. And we also give back to the community at the same time. We are here to serve you, the viewer, each week on The Attorneys.
Addiction kills hope.
But at Bradford, it all changes here.
Experience the difference
that proven treatment can make.
Find recovery, find community
at Bradford.
You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis Wright.
Welcome back. We are discussing how municipal pardons work, and you are watching The Attorneys. Glad to have you with us. I want to remind you to follow us on the social media platforms, and also you can get in contact with someone at Hollis Wright, 1-844-LAW-TALK. It's free, it's confidential. An attorney is standing by right now to take your call, and they'll be there throughout the show. We're really finding out some fascinating stuff, especially about mayors having the ability to pardon.
I had no idea, or that was even a thing. I took a class in law school called Municipal Courts, and I may have missed a class or two, but I do not remember in the outline this ever coming up. So I mean, I'm learning this for the first time. You know what? And we kind of talked about this or hinted about it, my curiosity on it before we took the break. But you told us about, with the state, that there's literally an application, right? Like if you were convicted by the state of Alabama, that you go to the Board of Pardon and Paroles for the state, and there's going to be an application for you to seek a pardon from them for them to review your case. If every mayor in every municipality has this power, I have a feeling it's probably not going to be that uniform, right? Is there a place that someone can go and just get one of these applications, or how would you even go about it?
Right. So it's going to, of course, vary city by city. Birmingham and Mayor Woodfin, a few years back, I think it was 2019 or 2020, he started his Pardons for Progress initiative. And the focus was pardoning people that had been convicted of marijuana possession misdemeanors. And if they were so many years old and happened within a specific time frame, then you could apply for a pardon. And that application is online. Right. I know it was when it started, and I believe it still is now.
But in that situation, the mayor actually took the initiative to set that up.
That's right. And it's going to depend on which city you're trying to apply for a pardon in, how that process is going to go. A few years ago, a firm that I was previously with, we petitioned the city of Lineville, Alabama, which is in Clay County, for a pardon. Our client had lost his gun rights because of a domestic violence conviction, and he wanted to be able to go hunt with his kids. He couldn't possess a gun, and he wanted to be able to for recreational purposes. And we sort of had to put our own application together. So we took the Board of Pardons and Paroles application, and the information that they were requesting, we put it in ours. So your name, address, date of conviction, your case number for that misdemeanor. We also threw in, had they satisfied all the conditions of their sentence, so probation, had they paid the money they had to pay, court costs and fees. And we also put in there character letters from people that we felt were reputable and could advocate on their behalf in writing. And we sent that in to the city attorney, who got it to the mayor. And the mayor told us, just like I think we're all talking about now, he said, this is the first time this has ever happened, especially since I've been in office. And you're the first person to apply for one, and you're going to be the first person to get one, because he ended up getting that pardon.
Wow.
And so for purposes of how am I going to apply, it's going to depend on what city you're trying to go to. But unless it's Birmingham, I think everybody's got to put their heads together and just try and find the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you need a lawyer in that situation.
Absolutely, and that's why we have this show, and that's why we have Hollis, Wright, and have Phil here to talk about it. Can you talk about the difference between an absolute pardon and a conditional pardon?
Of course. So you see that mostly at the state level. If you were going to go and apply to the Board of Pardons and Paroles, there's two types of pardons, just like you're mentioning, an absolute pardon or a conditional pardon. An absolute pardon is going to be what we talked about earlier, a complete reinstatement of your rights. So any rights that you lost, like I said, the most common are usually voting rights or gun rights, but an absolute pardon is a restoration of those rights. A conditional pardon could be a pardon, so you are pardoned from that conviction, but your rights are not restored. Or it could be you are pardoned and your gun rights are restored, but not your voting rights. We're not there yet. So when it's conditional, it's just like it sounds. You're getting a pardon, but there's a caveat to it. It's not complete. So,
is there usually a time frame associated with a conditional pardon?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. When you say time frame, do you mean could I come back and ask for another one? I think once you apply for a pardon at the state level, I don't know how long you're barred from applying for another one, but I would encourage you to apply again. I would try and ask for a complete absolute pardon every chance that I could.
Or get in contact with you.
That's right, or call me, for sure.
Well, I was going to ask this because I'm sure there are people listening now that have convictions and rights that are taken away that are asking themselves, well, I wonder what are the things they're looking for? And right, obviously you could go online and see that application from the state level, but in general, in terms of whether they are or they're not going to give a pardon or they're going to make it a conditional pardon, what are the factors that they're looking for?
So, and again, it's going to depend who you're talking to, what mayor, what city council am I talking to, but it's our opinion that things that always help you are, number one, staying out of trouble. So no convictions from the time you were originally convicted to the time that you were asking for a pardon. I think that's very helpful. Number two, we talked about this earlier a little bit. Have you satisfied the terms of your sentence? Are you done with probation? Did you have any probation violations? Did they have to report you? Have I paid my court costs? Most importantly, have I paid restitution if it was owed? Because that restitution is going to go to a victim, and that's typically what prosecuting agencies care the most about. The last thing, I think the character letters that we talked about putting in that old application that we did, I think those are very important. I think that it's important because a mayor and a city council, they're going to know, hey, this lawyer, well, of course they're going to advocate for him, and there's only so much that they can say. Can you give me something else? Can you give me an old boss? Can you give me a pastor? Can you give me a neighbor? Can you give me anybody that can vouch for them outside of their lawyer that shows that they are truly different than the person they were
to add that credibility
at the time they were convicted, to bolster that credibility.
Which I'm sure that's incredibly important too, because this is, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be completely discretionary.
Right.
It's not like in a court of law where there's some things that are discretionary and there's some things that are binding law that are requirements. But yeah, I mean, having those people to add credibility, like you said, they know that you have a vested interest as the attorney because you're advocating on their behalf, but to have someone like a pastor, someone that doesn't have that inherent bias, to give them those assurances in such a discretionary process, I would think is so important.
Indeed. All right, we'll take a break right here, and we're going to continue this discussion as we're talking about municipal pardons, but also reminding you, you still have a little more time to get in contact with an attorney at Hollis Wright. They man the phones throughout this program. Someone is standing by right now. All you have to do is dial 1-844-LAW-TALK, 1-844-LAW-TALK, and it's a free confidential call. You'll reach someone at Hollis Wright. We'll be back, wrap this up right after this break.
Thank you for watching The Attorneys each Sunday night, where we come to your living room to provide free legal advice in a confidential, off-air setting. Unfortunately, with the number of calls, texts, and emails that come in during the show, we can't always get to everything. But know this, Hollis Wright is open all week long. You call us at 844-LAW-TALK and we're going to answer your question for free. Thank you for watching The Attorneys, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you soon.
If this place could talk, it wouldn't. It would sing and celebrate all of our stories of addiction recovery, victory, and community. This is Bradford Health Services. It all changes here.
You're watching The Attorneys, a paid advertisement brought to you by the law firm of Hollis Wright.
Welcome back. You are watching The Attorneys. Again, you've got a little bit more time to reach someone at Hollis Wright by dialing 1-844-LAW-TALK for a free confidential call, or you can scan that QR code on the screen and you can reach Hollis Wright there as well. As we get back over to Phil and, of course, Mike, as we've been talking about this, and viewers, as we look at some of our questions from them, pursuing expungement, want to know, when you get a pardon, does you automatically have your record expunged as well?
So I think a lot of people confuse expungements with pardons. Expungements, I don't know why I've always associated expungement with like erase. Mm-hmm. So when you have something expunged from your record, it's gone. Right. It's not there anymore. A pardon is different. A pardon is still going to show up on a background check, but it will show that you were pardoned by whatever agency was required to pardon you. In the state of Alabama, for you to have a prior felony conviction expunged off your record, step one is that you have to have been pardoned. And that has to come with it has to be an absolute pardon that comes with a complete restoration of your rights. So even at the state level, it's just as important, but the municipal level awareness, we think, is key right now.
And there's not going to be any felonies at the municipal level,
That's
is that correct?
Right. They don't have the jurisdiction to prosecute them. That's right.
Well, in your experience, since we're trying to get the word out, obviously you told us about going to Lineville and Clay County and going to getting the first, at least for that mayor, in his experience, the first pardon. In your pursuits of doing this, you told us about Mayor Woodfin. What has been your experience from municipal level? Do you have a client where that you can remember where they had these certain rights that you went and fought one of these municipal pardons that nobody knows about, that you were able to restore their rights?
So that would be the same one we spoke about earlier. Like I said, the client, his goal in trying to obtain a pardon was to be able to hunt on family land with his kids. He couldn't possess a gun, couldn't possess a hunting rifle, and it all stemmed from a conviction in city court. A lot of people don't understand it. I know it seems a lot of people associate traffic tickets with city court, but there's real life consequences to convictions in city court. And when he walked in the door to talk to us, we didn't really know where to go. We knew that we couldn't go to the state, and nobody is seeking municipal pardons, especially there in Clay County. It just sounded like it hadn't been done a lot. It was probably a 2 to 3 month long process. We were having to bring people up to speed on what we thought the law was, because it didn't come up a lot. And finally, when the mayor brought us in and signed his pardon, it seemed like relief. When Mayor Woodfin spoke about pardons for progress, he talked about in his press release, we're doing this to give people a fresh start. We're doing this to give people the chance to start over and move forward. And what Mayor Woodfin thinks about pardons, I saw that firsthand. That's exactly what happened for that client. And I really hope people try, whether it's with an attorney, I hope it is, but at least call your mayor, call your city attorney's office, and ask them about municipal pardons. See if you can do it.
Well, and look, if we had a sitting mayor, and I'm not being critical at all, that says I didn't even know this was a thing, then if you didn't have an attorney, I mean, can you imagine going and saying, hey, can I get a pardon? And they would go, that's not a thing. And it'd be very hard to establish it was as a lay person in that situation. So, I mean, I would think it's imperative if that is your goal. And then obviously, one of the things while I'm sitting here thinking from Mayor Woodfin, obviously it changed those people's lives and restored their rights in Jefferson County. But now you almost have a framework to go to these other municipalities and say, I can tell you, there's press releases on this of where they did this in the largest municipality in the state of Alabama. And so obviously it is a real thing. You have that power. And in my experience, Phil, people like to learn that they have new powers, and they usually don't go, you know what, I'm going to turn that power away. And so hopefully people are watching this episode to learn those things. But I think, we should be thankful for Mayor Woodfin for the whole state that there is now a framework from municipal level that there is credibility to this argument and this process.
So outside of the city of Birmingham, it sounds like it's pretty much starting from scratch in many other municipalities. So as an attorney who will walk them through this process, how do you start and what's that process look like for them?
So it is, not only is it a challenge because a lot of these cities don't do them often and there's nothing really online, it's also a challenge because information about that case that particular person went through, that's not online either. Municipal records are typically not online, especially criminal records like we would, in Alley Court or with the state level. So I need to know when the conviction was. I need to know what you were convicted of. I need to know if you're off of probation, if you've satisfied that requirement, and if you've paid all the money that you're required to pay. From that point, I'm going to give you homework. I'm going to have you go get some character letters. I'll put all of this in writing. I'll put your application together. I will contact the city attorney and then contact the mayor. So, both myself and the client, we got our work cut out for us, but I'm really excited, and I really hope that this brings a little more awareness to the issue.
Yeah, I hope we get more awareness to the issue because, like I said, you and I are sitting here and we talk law all the time. I'm supposed to know the law, and this is completely news to me. How can those people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so again, it's the Hazzard Law Firm. You give us a call, 205-521-7378. We're on Facebook and Instagram as well. It's myself and attorney Waukesha Hazzard. Give us a call Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We'd be more than happy to help you.
All right, Phil, thank you.
Of course, thank
Michael,
you.
always good to see you.
Always good to be here.
And always good to have you join us here on The Attorneys as we give you the legal information that you need that may change your life. And we hope you make an appointment to see us back here next week, same place, same time.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.